believe in God?
I believe in God, yes.
Yes, I do.
Yes, very much so.
Do you believe in God?
Yes.
You believe in God?
Yes.
Absolutely. How do you know God exists?
It's just a belief, that's all it is.
It's just a belief, but it's a big one. And a recent survey found 91% of Americans believe in God or some sort of universal spirit, though I'm not sure what universal spirit means. But there's no question that faith does good things for people. It comforts people, gives them a sense of purpose. Actively religious people are significantly happier than the non-religious. So good for them, but bad for me. I'm an agnostic. God may exist, but I want more evidence, and I've looked for it. I've gone to churches and temples. I've read the Bible. I just don't get why most of you are able to accept that this is the Word of God. I cringe to say that in this country where most of you believe, and you may like me less because I don't. Maybe you'll stop watching my program and I'll get fired. But that's the breaks. But now, as I said, I'm an agnostic, not an atheist. I remain open to the idea that there is some sort of universal spirit. But our skeptic, Michael Shermer, he is an atheist. He's certain God doesn't exist. How can you be so certain? And before you answer, let me also introduce Father Jonathan Morris. He's a Roman Catholic priest and a Fox News contributor who is certain that God exists. So you first, Father. How do you know?
Let me start by saying agreeing to come onto this program between the two of you may be proof that religious people aren't too smart. But let me say, you know what? There's different types of certainties. There is scientific certainties, which we need physical evidence for. And then there is what I believe, what we could call spiritual knowledge. That we, because we're spiritual beings, because we're not just like the animals, there's something special about us. The fact that I can love someone, the fact that I can know that I love someone, also, I think, relates to grasping spiritual truth. It's a different type of certainty, John, but I am certain.
But I don't get the connection. Love?
Sure,
and God? What?
Yeah, okay, so we recognize the fact that I am different than an animal. I can say, I know that I love my mom. Okay, now we're into a recognition that I'm not just made up of a sum of my biological or chemical parts. There is another element to who I am. My experience of being able to freely choose things points out to me that there is a spiritual realm. It's not just biology.
Michael, your turn.
Well, I guess my three reasons for skepticism about belief in God, and I don't treat the God question any differently than anything else. It's either,
that's the big problem.
Either there is a God or there isn't. And so my three reasons would be, one, where you happen to have been born tells us which God you believe in and which religion you adhere to. Had Jonathan been born in India or say, China, he'd probably be a Hindu or a Buddhist.
Let's just talk about God. Let's just talk about the spiritual realm.
But even which God you believe in is determined by where you happen to have been born. So there's that problem, the obvious human construction element of belief in God. Two, the problem of evil. Why do bad things happen to good people? I don't mean like war or something like that.
To read, Michael.
But why does God allow innocent children to suffer? And I don't buy the God works in mysterious ways argument.
Neither do I.
Okay, well, then we're on the same page.
Right, third.
And then third is the moral problem. That is, you brought up morals. Well, are we to believe that the creator of the universe couldn't even get it right on slavery and how blacks should be treated, how women should be treated? The Old Testament is an abominable...
Is God the one who did those things, Michael?
Well,
or did we choose? Or did we choose? And that's the amazing thing about our free will.
Don't you use the Bible?
The amazing thing about our free will is that we can actually put someone into slavery. I can decide to punch you or not to punch you. I'm not going to punch you.
This is endorsed by the Bible. This is endorsed by the Old Testament of how you should treat your slaves, why slaves are inferior.
That is such an old argument, Michael.
Yeah, but it's only old
because we have to look at the Bible in its fullness.
I know, but you don't believe it anymore. You pick and choose the passages that seem to fit current models of what we accept as reasonable and moral. People used to justify slavery.
Thank God we've gotten better. That's the amazing thing.
But not God. It isn't that.
What do you think happens to us after we die?
What do I think? I think this is it. The same thing that happens before we were born. We just weren't here before we were born, and after we die, we're not here.
When atheists decide that they are going to say, Everything has an explanation. But even if something, let's say if I believe in the Big Bang, which I'm totally fine with if God chose to use the Big Bang. I totally believe in evolution, but I believe God is at the center of it. But nobody has been able to explain the origin of matter, how it all began.
Actually, we're
what
pretty
was the
close on
first?
that now. We have string theory.
Is that right?
Yeah, we have string theory.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. And
How close? How close?
I would say within 10 to 20 years we'll have.
People have been saying that for thousands of years.
Well, I'm telling you, we're this close. But just because we don't have an answer.
Most scientists disagree with you,
this
actually.
This is called the God of the gaps argument, where I don't have an explanation. That must be where God fulfills the gap. What are you going to do when science does answer that? Are you going to abandon your faith? I doubt it.
The fact is that I have experienced God in my life.
Okay.
The fact is that a lot of people have experienced God in their life, and to say,
What does that mean, to experience God in your life?
You know, I think that is the real key to faith. First of all, trusting in the sources that we're reading, trusting the sources that we know.
You mean the Bible?
But then also
slavery.
Let's just stick to the topic here. But then the experience of God. To be able to, I asked the taxi driver coming up here, do you believe in God? Why? He said, look. He doesn't know exactly, but he's experienced God. I've experienced God in so many ways. I've experienced God being there comforting me. I've experienced God calling me to a life of service.
So is something wrong with me that I don't experience this?
You know, John, I don't think so. I think if you have a truly open mind, I think if Michael has a truly open mind, God will act. I don't doubt that you. I don't doubt that
I'm
you do.
trying. I would like to believe, but I just
God
don't
will
because the
act in
evidence is
His
not
timing,
there.
and that we are only responsible to God, and as much as God reveals Himself to us, and sometimes that's very slowly.
Why doesn't He just come right here in the studio and go, "Hey, Shermer, here I am. This is it." Why is it always
Let me
just
explain.
so
I have an
carefully?
answer to that. Because God loves us so much that He has given us the ability to love Him in return. If He showed up right now and we would have no way to be able to say no.
But which God?
What a wonderful thing. That
I would love it if He would show up and
it'd be
make
nice.
it clear.
Yeah.
He would,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
know what? It would be.
We're tired of the guessing game.
It would totally wipe out our ability to choose.
No, it
and then
wouldn't.
we would not have the ability to be the wonderful human beings that we are.
But why does He punish us for things that supposedly we do by?
Hold
Why-
this
who's
thought,
he
because
punishing?
when we return, we will continue this discussion and involve some more players like you folks. Does God exist? Polls show that most of you believe that he or she does. But how do you know? We're back now with Michael Shermer, who is a skeptic about that and an atheist, and also Father Jonathan Morris, a Catholic priest who is
Believes.
certain, who believes. So let's go to the audience. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What if you're wrong,
What if I'm wrong? Well,
Who's wrong?
Michael?
Michael, yeah. So I've thought about this. I have a little speech prepared. Basically, I could be wrong. It's entirely possible. I would say, God, you gave me a brain to think. You gave me a brain that doubts. You made the evidence rather, questionable, so I questioned. And besides, what difference does it make whether I believe or not? Isn't it more important how you comport yourself in life and how you treat other people? I'd rather be judged by how I treat other people than whether or not I believed in God.
Going to the point of saying, okay, the most important thing is how I behave,
Yeah.
which I believe is true, is jumping around the question of whether or not God exists or doesn't exist. They're two very different issues, both of which are important. We're talking about not how we should behave. We would all agree that an atheist can behave much better than religious people, and they've done in the past. But does God exist or not is another issue.
Okay, but I'm wondering why God would care. I mean, caring whether I believe or not is such a human emotional trait, like a Greek god that gets angry and jealous and loves and so forth. That's so human. It's such an imposition upon a deity of the kinds of emotions that we have. I can't believe an omniscient, omnipotent God would give one whit about whether I believed or not. What difference does it make?
Yes, sir.
My question is, if you believe in God, you believe in devil, you believe in the evil. So you have a counterbalance within your society, within your morals, your morality. What about the nations throughout history that do not have a belief in any moral compass? For example, Nazi Germany, Communist China, Russia.
Those particular countries, not Nazi Germany so much, they were pretty much Catholic, but and Hitler was a Catholic. But communist Russia and communist China,
historical lie.
Communist China and communist Russia had a faux religion called Marxism-Leninism. They replaced one religion with another religion. Nobody kills in the name of atheism because atheism isn't a thing. It's just we just don't believe. Period. We have all kinds of beliefs that have nothing to do with atheism. But you can't kill in the name of atheism.
As soon as
you can kill in the name of God. You can fly planes into buildings because you believe that Allah told you to do it and that you'll get the 72 virgins and all that. That's the power of religion.
It's not a question of killing.
You don't do that with atheism.
Stalin didn't kill in the name of atheism. Stalin, however, did not want anyone who believed in religion to exist. He hated religion. And when you don't believe that the person next to me is a person with special dignity, that he's been made in the image and likeness of God, if you don't believe in any ultimate justice, it's a lot easier to treat people however you want.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for the father. Now, earlier you had said that human beings were different than animals because we can love, but doesn't like a baby deer feel attachment to its mother? Don't your pets like feel love for you? Wouldn't it be more accurate to say that human beings are different than animals because we have the capacity for reason?
Yeah. I think they go hand in hand. To suggest that somehow the love that your dog has for you is the same love that you have for your wife, for example, is rather unromantic, without a doubt. I think we recognize that there's something very special about human beings, and it doesn't prove the existence of God, but definitely points in the direction of spiritual realities.
All right, we're not going to resolve this tonight, obviously. Here's the Bible making fun answers in there. So let's move on next to something more provable. Is it smarter to invest in a famous mutual fund run by expert stock pickers? And that's what most people do. But is it possible that I, by throwing darts, could pick stocks better than those so-called experts? When we return.